You are tired. Not physically. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. You are tired of reacting, tired of explaining, tired of shrinking yourself just enough so other people feel comfortable standing next to you. Look at your life closely. Every time someone questions you, you explain. Every time someone disrespects you, you react. Every time someone misunderstands you, you try to clarify, justify, defend. And in doing so, you hand them control. Not metaphorically, literally. Because the moment you feel the need to explain yourself, you are no longer in a position of power. You are negotiating your worth in a room where it was never respected to begin with. Machiavelli understood something most men will spend their entire lives avoiding. Power is not loud. Power does not rush to defend itself. Power does not ask to be understood. Power observes. Power calculates. And when necessary, power ignores. But you were never taught that. You were taught to communicate, to express, to be open, to be understood. And now look at the result. You over-explain to people who already decided who you are. You argue with people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You react to people who are testing how easy you are to control. This is not honesty. This is exposure. And exposure, in the wrong environment, is weakness. But here is the part no one tells you. The more you explain, the less they respect you. The more you react, the more they push you. The more available you are, the less valuable you become. Because human nature does not reward transparency. It exploits it. Machiavelli didn't write for men who wanted to be liked. He wrote for men who wanted to remain in control, in a world built on manipulation, perception, and silent hierarchies. And that world hasn't changed. It just became quieter, more subtle, more psychological. So let me be very clear with you. If you continue reacting to everything, if you continue explaining yourself to everyone, if you continue giving access to people who haven't earned it, you will spend your entire life being managed by others while believing you are in control. But be warned. Once you understand this, once you see how power actually operates beneath the surface, you will never be able to go back to being that version of yourself again. Because this is not self-help. This is not motivation. This is surgery. We are about to dissect the patterns that make you predictable, readable, controllable. And we are going to replace them with something far more dangerous. Silence, detachment, precision, and the final law, the one most men will never be able to execute, will force you to become someone the world cannot read, cannot manipulate, and cannot ignore. Most won't make it that far. That's the point. Let's begin the surgery. Law 1. The brutal mirror. The reason you keep reacting is not weakness in the moment. It is conditioning, deep, biological, psychological. Your brain was not designed for power. It was designed for survival. Thousands of years ago, rejection meant danger, isolation meant death. So your nervous system evolved to protect you from one thing above all else: social exclusion. When someone challenges you, disrespects you, or misunderstands you, your brain does not see a conversation. It sees a threat. It activates instantly. Your heart rate rises, your cortisol spikes. Your body prepares to defend, explain, justify, not because it is logical, but because it is ancient. Psychologically, it goes even deeper. You were trained by parents, school, society to equate being understood with being safe. So you learn to explain yourself, to seek validation, to correct every misinterpretation as if your identity depended on it. And now it does. That is why you react. Not because you choose to, but because a primitive system inside you is terrified of losing approval. Machiavelli would call this what it is: predictability. And anything predictable can be controlled. You think you are reacting because of the situation. You are not. You are reacting because of a pattern that was installed in you long before you ever became aware of it. Every time you rush to explain yourself, every time you feel the urge to defend your decisions, every time you try to correct how someone sees you, you are not acting from power. You are acting from conditioning. Biologically, your brain is wired to avoid rejection at all costs. The moment someone questions you or misjudges you, your system interprets it as a social threat. Your body does not distinguish between physical danger and social disapproval. It triggers the same internal response: elevated heart rate, tension, urgency. You feel like you need to fix it immediately. So you speak. You explain. You react. Psychologically, it gets worse. You were rewarded for being agreeable, for being understood, for keeping harmony. So now, when someone creates friction, you feel responsible for resolving it. You feel like silence means losing, like not explaining means being weak. That is the illusion. Because in reality, every time you over-explain, you signal uncertainty. Every time you react emotionally, you reveal your pressure points. And once those pressure points are visible, they can be used against you. Machiavelli never trusted men who could not face themselves, because the man who cannot sit with his own truth will always try to control how others see him. And that makes him predictable. The brutal mirror is simple. Stop looking at how they treat you. Start looking at why you keep responding. Because the real weakness was never their behavior. It was your need to answer it. Law 2. The inner battlefield. Before you try to control how the world sees you, you need to understand something far more dangerous. There is a voice inside you that is not on your side. It does not sound like an enemy. It sounds like you. It tells you to explain yourself so people don't misunderstand you. It tells you to react so people don't disrespect you. It tells you to speak so you don't lose your position in the moment. And every time you listen, you lose something far more valuable than the argument. You lose control. This is the inner battlefield Machiavelli was obsessed with. Not the wars between men, but the war within the man. Because the man who cannot control his internal state will always be controlled externally. Always. Psychologically, this voice is built from your past. Every rejection you experienced, every moment you felt ignored, every time your worth was questioned, your mind stored those moments and built a defense system. Now, whenever a similar situation appears, that system activates automatically. It pushes you to act fast, to fix the perception, to regain control. But here is the dark twist. It is not protecting you, it is exposing you, because the faster you react, the easier you are to read. The more you try to control the situation, the more you reveal what controls you. And people notice, not consciously, not always, but instinctively, they test you. A comment, a tone, a subtle disrespect, not to destroy you, but to measure you. And the moment you react emotionally, over-explain, or try to correct them, you answer the test. You show them exactly where your boundaries are weak, exactly what triggers you, exactly how to move you. That is how power shifts without you even realizing it. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous man is not the one who wins every argument. It is the one who does not need to enter them, because he already won the only battle that matters, the one inside his own mind. So the question is not, why do they treat you this way? The real question is, why does it still get a reaction out of you? Because until you silence that internal voice, you will always be responding to a war you don't even see. And that is how men stay controlled their entire lives. Law 3. The Self-Priority Doctrine. There is a lie so deeply embedded in your mind, you no longer question it. The idea that putting yourself first is selfish. That if you choose your time, your energy, your growth over someone else's comfort, you are doing something wrong. So you adjust. You say yes when you want to say no. You stay accessible when you should be unavailable. You give your time, your attention, your focus to people who have done nothing to earn it. And you call that being a good person. Machiavelli would call it something else. He would call it positioning yourself as a resource. Because the man who does not prioritize himself becomes available to everyone else's agenda. He becomes useful but never respected, needed but never valued, present but easily replaced. Psychologically, this behavior is rooted in approval seeking. You were trained to associate your worth with how much you give, how much you accommodate, how little friction you create. So you learn to manage other people's emotions at the expense of your own direction. Biologically, it ties back to the same survival mechanism. Belonging equals safety. So you sacrifice alignment to maintain connection. But here is the truth most men never accept. The more you prioritize others over yourself, the less they respect you. Not because they are cruel, but because human nature is calibrated to value what is scarce. And you are not scarce. You are available, predictable, reachable, controllable. The man who operates from power does the opposite. He protects his time like it is finite, because it is. He makes decisions based on vision, not guilt. He allows people to be disappointed without rushing to fix it, because he understands something critical. Disappointing others is often the price of not disappointing yourself. This is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming selective. Selective with your time. Selective with your energy. Selective with who gets access to you. Because access is power. And when you give it to everyone, you have none left. So the doctrine is simple. You come first. Not out of ego, but out of strategy. Because the man who does not build himself first will spend his life being used to build others. Law 4. The weapon of silence. Most men talk too much. Not because they have something important to say, but because they are uncomfortable with what silence exposes. So they fill it. They explain their decisions before anyone asks. They justify their actions before anyone questions. They reveal their plans before they are even executed. And they think this builds trust. It doesn't. It builds predictability. Machiavelli understood a principle that most people ignore because it feels unnatural. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is control. When you speak, you give information. When you explain, you reveal intention. When you react, you expose emotion. And information, in the wrong hands, becomes leverage. Psychologically, silence creates tension. Humans are wired to resolve uncertainty. When someone cannot read you, cannot predict you, cannot fully understand your position, their mind starts working overtime. They fill in the gaps. They assign meaning. They project significance onto you. That is power. Not loud dominance, but controlled ambiguity. The silent man does not rush to be understood. He lets others sit in that discomfort. And in that space, dynamics shift. People begin to watch him more closely. They measure their words more carefully. They hesitate before testing him, because they don't know what's coming next. That uncertainty forces respect. Now compare that to the man who explains everything. You already know what he thinks. You already know how he feels. You already know how he will react. He is easy to manage, easy to provoke, easy to manipulate, because nothing about him is hidden. Machiavelli's man operates differently. He speaks less than he knows. He reveals less than he feels. He never explains himself to people who have not earned that level of access. And when he does speak, it is precise, measured, intentional, not to express, but to execute. So the discipline is simple. Pause before you respond. Let silence sit longer than feels comfortable. Resist the urge to fill the space just to relieve tension, because that tension is where your power lives. Master silence, and you no longer need to prove anything. The room will do it for you. Law 5. The irreplaceable build. Let me ask you something most men avoid, because the answer is uncomfortable. If you disappeared tomorrow, how long would it take to replace you? A week? A day? An hour? Because here is the brutal truth. The world does not value effort. It values leverage. And if what you bring can be easily replicated, you are not respected. You are tolerated. Most men never confront this. They hide inside routine. They convince themselves that showing up is enough, that consistency without evolution is somehow noble. It's not. It's invisible. Machiavelli never wrote for men who wanted to be included. He wrote for men who wanted to become necessary. And necessity is not built through comfort. It is built through pressure. Psychologically, the human mind seeks efficiency. People naturally categorize others based on utility. If you operate at an average level, your brain and everyone else's places you into a replaceable category. No malice, just pattern recognition. Biologically, this ties into survival hierarchy. Humans instinctively assign value based on contribution, competence, and scarcity. The rare skill, the disciplined mind, the controlled presence, these signal strength. And strength commands position. Mediocrity does the opposite. It signals safety, but also irrelevance. That is why average men are ignored, overlooked, and easily discarded. Not because the world is unfair, but because they never built anything that forces the world to notice. The man who becomes irreplaceable does something different. He sharpens himself daily, not when he feels motivated, but especially when he doesn't. He builds skills that solve real problems. He develops discipline that does not collapse under pressure. He becomes precise, competent, dangerous in his execution. And over time, something shifts. He stops chasing opportunities because opportunities begin to orbit him. People don't question his value, they assume it. Not because he said anything, but because he built something undeniable. So, understand this clearly. You are either building a version of yourself that the world cannot ignore, or you are training the world to function perfectly fine without you. There is no middle ground. Start building accordingly. Law 6. Emotional sovereignty. You don't lose control in big moments. You lose it in small ones, repeatedly, until the pattern becomes your identity. A comment that hits your ego, a tone that feels disrespectful, a situation that doesn't go your way. And suddenly, you react. You justify it. You call it being real. You call it standing your ground. But what you are actually doing is surrendering control. Machiavelli understood something most men never train for. The man who loses emotional control loses strategic control. Not sometimes, every time. Because emotions are fast, strategy is slow. And the moment you allow emotion to take the lead, you abandon precision for impulse. Biologically, your brain prioritizes emotional survival over rational thinking. When you feel attacked, your system shifts control away from logic and into reaction. It becomes about immediate relief, not long-term positioning. That is why you say things you regret, why you react too quickly, why you make decisions that feel right in the moment, but cost you later. Psychologically, it reveals something deeper. Every emotional reaction exposes a trigger. And every trigger is a handle someone else can use to move you. Think about that. The moment someone knows what frustrates you, what angers you, what destabilizes you, they no longer need to fight you directly. They just need to press the right button, and you will destroy your own position for them. That is how most men lose. Not because they were outplayed, but because they were provoked. The man who operates at a higher level does something different. He feels everything, but shows nothing. Not because he is numb, but because he is disciplined. He creates space between stimulus and response. A pause, a moment of control where he decides consciously how to act. Not based on emotion, but based on outcome. He asks one question before every reaction. Does this serve my position, or does it serve my ego? And most of the time, the honest answer is uncomfortable. So he stays still, because in that stillness, he keeps control. Master your emotions, and no one can control you. Fail to, and they won't even need to try. Law 7. The circle filter. Look at the people around you, not casually, not emotionally, strategically, because whether you admit it or not, they are shaping you. Quietly, consistently, every single day. You think you are independent. You think your mindset is your own. But human behavior doesn't work that way. You absorb more than you realize. Standards, habits, beliefs, limits. They leak into you through proximity. And most men never question it. They stay loyal to people who are keeping them small. They maintain relationships out of history, not alignment. They tolerate conversations that drain them, environments that dull them, expectations that shrink them. And then they wonder why they feel stuck. Machiavelli was ruthless about this. Not emotional, not sentimental, ruthless, because he understood a principle most people avoid because it feels uncomfortable. The people closest to you are either expanding your ceiling or enforcing it. There is no neutral. Psychologically, humans calibrate their behavior based on their environment. You adjust your ambition, your discipline, even your identity to match the expectations of the group around you. Not consciously, but automatically. So, if your environment is average, you normalize average. If your circle avoids risk, you avoid risk. If they make excuses, you justify yours. And over time, your potential gets negotiated down to fit the room. That is how stagnation happens. Not through failure, but through slow adaptation. Now here is the part most men resist. Not everyone in your life is meant to come with you. Some people were only aligned with the version of you that was easier to relate to, less disciplined, less focused, less threatening to their own comfort. And the moment you start changing, tension appears. Subtle comments, passive resistance, jokes that carry weight. They don't need to attack you directly. They just need to pull you back, slightly, consistently. And if you don't recognize it, it works. Machiavelli would never allow that. Because the man who is serious about power does not build his life around comfort. He builds it around alignment. He selects his circle like a strategist. Who sharpens me? Who challenges me? Who operates at a level that forces me to grow? And, just as importantly, who drains me? Who limits me? Who benefits from me staying the same? Those people are not your circle. They are your ceiling. And if you keep them close, you will never rise beyond them. You've made it this far, which already separates you from most people. Because most men will hear this, feel uncomfortable, and leave. They will go back to reacting, back to explaining, back to living a life where their behavior is quietly controlled by everyone around them. But you stayed. So now you are standing at a choice. Not a motivational choice. A real one. You can go back. Back to being understood, but not respected. Back to being liked, but not valued. Back to explaining yourself in rooms that were never meant to recognize you. Or you can step into something else. Something colder, sharper, more precise, but also more powerful. Understand this clearly. If you apply what you've just learned, your life will change. But not in the way people sell you. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. You will be called distant, arrogant, different, because you will stop reacting. You will stop explaining. You will stop giving access to people who haven't earned it. And most people don't know how to deal with a man they cannot control. That is the cost, and also the reward. Because on the other side of that is freedom. The kind of freedom where your decisions are no longer influenced by fear of judgment, where your emotions are no longer weapons others can use against you, where your presence alone shifts how people treat you, without you saying a word. That is power, quiet, controlled, unshakable. But understand this, what you've seen here is only the surface. There are strategies, patterns, psychological frameworks that cannot be discussed publicly, not because they don't exist, but because they are too effective. The algorithm doesn't reward truth, it suppresses it. So if this opened your eyes, understand this is only what I can show publicly. There are layers to this game that most people will never access. Those exist behind the join button. If you're still here, you're not like the others. Subscribe if you haven't. But if you want what's hidden, click the join button and step into the next level. Most won't. That's the point. I'll see you in the dark.